Hi guys, this is Photography 2. My name is Regina.
I'm Justine, and we have a little something to show you. Hope you guys like it.
Enjoy!
Say your name and occupation.
Hi, my name is Mrs. Avila and I teach Success 101.
How long have you been teaching at Central Union High School?
I have been teaching for Central Union High School District for 30 years.
Are you a Central Union High School alumni?
I am a true blue Central alumni, class of 1979.
What was your experience with the dungeon?
The dungeon is a mysterious place. When you least expect it, you feel a cold breeze when the temperature is 110. As you walk through the dungeon, you feel as though someone is watching you. It's very creepy.
What do you remember about it?
I was never sent to the dungeon when I was in high school. My friends would tell me that it was dark and gloomy, scary, and at times freezing.
Have you ever had any paranormal experience or activity on campus?
Rumor has it that the library building is haunted. Anyone who has worked here has stories of rare, chilling occurrences. I have walked from one side of my classroom to the other and experienced a cold breeze hitting my face. I take 2 steps forward or back, and then it is warm. When my classroom is absolutely silent, you can hear footsteps. It feels as though we have an invisible intruder. I turn on the music to distract my students. Just last month, I was standing at my door greeting my students when I heard my name called out in a chilling voice. A student's chair was moving backwards by itself. Instead of taking a video, we were all in shock, just staring. Finally, a student grabbed the chair and sat on it. Last year, a teacher used my classroom for Saturday school. When I returned on Monday, he told me that he would never step foot in my classroom again. While he was helping some students, the top shelf of the bookcase flew off. A couple of seconds later, the second shelf flew off the bookcase. Well, you know how the story goes. By the time the third shelf flew off, they ran out of my room. Needless to say, the ghost was not happy they were here. And finally, I have a homemade Raggedy Ann doll that sits on the shelf. The students say it moves during class. I just laugh it off, smile, and tell them to get back to work. I will never admit that I also saw it move. If you want more information on our scary hauntings, Google Haunted High School El Centro.
Well, thank you for letting us interview you, Ms. Avila. Hope you had a great day.
Thank you.
State your name and occupation.
My name is Mrs. Galindo, and I am an English teacher here at Central.
How long have you been working at Central?
I have been working here for about 10 years.
Are you a Central High alum?
I am. I graduated class of 97.
And what is your experience with the dungeon?
Not any experience directly, but I do know that it's always been a place that I don't want to go to.
And why is it referred to as the dungeon?
I have no idea, but I do know that when I was in high school, it was used for detention, and so students would have to go into the basement of the library, and that's where they had detention.
And what do you remember about it?
Well, what I stated about students having to go there for detention, and just a place that I didn't want to go to.
Have you ever had any paranormal experience on campus?
I have multiple.
What's your best story?
Well, I shared the one about the file cabinet with journalism, and I have others. One day I was staying after school working on grades, and it was late in the evening, and my door was open to my classroom so that the custodian would know that I was working. But as I was working, I kept on seeing like a shadow pass by and going into what I thought they were going into the men's restroom. And when the custodian came by to let me know that he was going to set the alarm, he asked me if anybody else was in the building with me. And I told him that yes, there was somebody in the restroom or somebody that kept going into the restroom. And he said, really? Like, who is it? And I said, I don't know. All I see is the shadow of whoever it is, like they're walking into the restroom. And he said, oh, that's probably not a person, it's Shadow Man. And I was just like, oh, I think I should go now. So I left. That was one.
Okay. Please state your name and occupation.
Tania Saldivar, school counselor here at Central.
And how long have you been working at Central?
This is actually my 18th year working for the district. And for Central, I want to say around 12 years.
Okay. And are you a CUHS alum?
I'm not. I am Southwest alumni. Do we want to keep that? I'm just kidding.
What is your experience with the dungeon?
So, since I've been working here, I've heard rumors about the dungeon and how creepy it is. I got to experience it because during testing time, this was years ago, I needed to look for some records from some CUME folders at the dungeon. I didn't even know where it was located until they guided me through the library. There is an entrance right in front of the library entrance, and we went in there. It's just a room, an empty room with a lot of boxes and a lot of like fixtures. Back then, I don't know what it looks like, but it was creepy. I went in there by myself.
And do you know why it is referred to as the dungeon?
I do not know. When I was reading the questions, that's one of the things that I was thinking about too. I'm not sure why they call it the dungeon. I heard rumors that it was a place where they were sending students that were not behaving, but I'm not sure.
And have you ever had any paranormal experience on campus?
I have. Working again with testing, this was years ago. High school students, I don't know what year exactly, but students had to pass the KZ exam. This was an exit exam that it was required for high school students to pass in English and math. And I used to help with that. So a lot of the testing took place inside the library. And while I was working one morning, I don't remember exactly when, but I know that it was really early in the morning. And right next to the entrance of what is today the well, we used to have bookshelves. And we had seats for the students for testing, so they had separate seating. And while I was putting the materials, there was a bookshelf there. I was placing the materials. I just felt a book fall right in front of me off the shelf. And I was by myself, so I'm looking around trying to see if someone's walking by to see if there's any steps. No, it was just me. And I remember I just said, Christopher, because I heard that the ghost that we have here on campus is named Christopher. That was my experience. The only experience I have with the school.
Mm-hmm.
Begin. So, please state your name and occupation.
So I'm Craig Lyon, principal here at Central Union.
How long have you been working at Central Union High School?
So I've been working as principal here for the last 10 years, but I've been in the district for the last 29.
Are you a Central High alumni?
Yeah, I graduated in 1988 from Central.
And what is your experience with the dungeon?
So my experience with the dungeon is that when I was a student here, if you got in trouble, you had to be sent down to the dungeon, which is used to be our in-house suspension. So like I said, I didn't want to get in trouble very often, but occasionally I had to come down to the dungeon and spend some time down here with Mr. Thomas, who ran it.
And why is it referred to as the dungeon?
So I don't know the exact history of why it's called the dungeon, but I think it's just based on the fact that it's our basement here. But I think because you got in trouble, they would always say, all right, you're going to have to go down to the dungeon because you got in trouble. So I think that was the reason why it's called the dungeon.
And what do you remember about it?
So I just remember is that as a student, when I got to have to come down here, you'd have to come down. It was a little dark and dreary, and it was just kind of one of those places that you didn't really want to be because you weren't sure what was going to happen down here. But that's just because it's in the basement, kind of a secluded area.
And have you ever had paranormal experience on campus?
So I haven't had any paranormal experience, but I do know that here on campus, talking with some teachers, they've talked about desks moving and chairs moving and things that were weird, kind of like the cold breeze coming when it shouldn't have been. But I've never really experienced it here, and I've kind of been around here in and out of the dungeon or the basement for the last couple of years, and I've never experienced it. But I also don't try to come down here alone.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
So the first question is, Halloween and candy go hand in hand. Who can show me some candy on your phone? The worst horror movie, can you Google when it was made?
The worst horror movie.
I'm imagining typing this shit out. I'm tired already.
1987.
Okay.
The Exorcist.
He got it.
Worst.
Exactly.
Which of your classmates is most likely to skip
Him.
a Halloween party?
They said it first.
Him.
You do homework like a good.
Yeah, we'll do homework instead.